what they think might have been the cause of the fire. On to this now. 4 locals have tested positive for the COVID-19 variant, first discovered in India. Health Minister Dr. Xoli Mngambi yesterday saying he's concerned about this fueling infections in the country should South Africans be concerned following the detection of the variants that were first reported in the UK as well. I'm joined now by Professor Shabir Madhi from the Department of Vaccinology at the University of Witwatersrand. Prof, thank you very much for making the time. Good to talk to you as always. Talk to us about the transmissibility of this variant, or should I say these 2 variants. How concerned should we be?
Good morning to you. So, like you mentioned, when a virus mutates, there's many mutations that take place, but the type of mutations that are of particular concern to us are mutations that either makes the virus more transmissible, meaning that people are more infectious, or makes the virus more virulent, meaning that once people get infected, they're more likely to develop severe disease. And lastly, viruses that are becoming relatively resistant to immune responses. Now, when looking at the transmissibility of the variant that was identified in the UK, the B117 variant, that variant is at least about 60% more transmissible than the ancestral virus. In addition to which, indications are that it's also more virulent. But fortunately, that virus is still relatively sensitive to the immune responses that's induced by the current generation of vaccines, as well as past infections. So, although more transmissible and more virulent, the current COVID-19 vaccines are expected to work as well against the B117 variant from the UK.
Yeah.
The variant in India, it's got 2 mutations that are of concern. The one is that it's got a mutation that's very similar to the mutation in the South African variant that makes it relatively resistant to the antibody that's induced by vaccines, as well as by past infection from the ancestral virus. It's also referred to as an EEC mutation. Now, that is a mutation that is shared with the South African variant. So we would expect that the vaccine effectiveness against the B1617 variant, which is a variant in India, would be similarly diminished compared to what we had observed with the South African variant.
Yeah.
But an additional mutation is one which is a mutation that was in fact initially identified in California. And that mutation possibly makes the virus more transmissible. And I'm talking of the variant from India. But the transmissibility is probably not as great as the transmissibility of the B117 variant.
Yeah.
It might be about a 20% increase in transmissibility, although that is not yet clear as to exactly how much more transmissible it is. So the concern with the variant from India, the B1617 variant, is that firstly, it's probably going to be equally resistant to a vaccine-induced as well as naturally induced antibody, but it might be slightly more infectious, more transmissible than a South African variant.
And the severe illness element, Professor, with specific reference to the variant that has been discovered in India, which is now detected here in South Africa, that element of severe illness, how much do we know and how concerned should South Africans be given the scenes that we have been seeing in India?
So like I said, with a B117 variant, the one from the UK, that one has been shown to be probably about 40% more virulent. The variant from India, the B1617 variant, hasn't been shown to be more virulent, which means that it will cause more severe disease. What is happening in India right now is not necessarily because of the virus being more virulent, resulting in more severe disease, but rather because of the large numbers of people that ended up getting infected over a short period of time. And the major driver behind that was the ill-considered decision to allow for mass gatherings, religious gatherings, as well as political electioneering gatherings to take place. Unfortunately, that sort of behavior fueled the ability of the virus to transmit quickly between people and consequently resulted in an overwhelming of the healthcare services. So it's not necessarily because the virus is causing more severe disease, but rather simply many people got infected over a shorter period of time, and consequently the healthcare system essentially has collapsed now.
The relaxed attitude, Professor, you speak about, that was displayed in India, it is what now is catching up with that country. Over the weekend, listening to some of the people commenting in India about not just the media not playing its part in making sure that the public is alerted as to the measures that needed to be taken. Well, now they're paying the price for that. You mentioned elections. We are probably going to enter the electioneering period in South Africa ahead of the October local government elections. What should the messaging be from government and in particular politicians?
I think the message is straightforward. Just look across as to what's happening in India and learn your lessons very quickly. We cannot afford the type of electioneering that has taken place in the past. We cannot afford mass gatherings. We cannot afford people gathering in large crowds. It's simply going to be a recipe for disaster. We might be successful in pulling off the elections, but we will pay a price after the election if we don't regulate the manner in which electioneering is done. Allowing for mass gatherings is simply not in a context of ongoing circulation of the virus, especially not in a country where so few people have been vaccinated.
All right, Professor Shabir Madhi, thank you very much for that update, talking to us about the two variants discovered in India and the UK, just talking to us about the infectiousness, if you like, if there is such a term, around these variants and how concerned South Africans should be. And he's simply putting it to personal behavior, that what we're seeing in India shouldn't be happening, but it's as a result of people relaxing their attitudes around COVID-19. That's a warning for us here as we head to the local government elections.